Hi, I'm Michael Meltzer and I'm the President and Broker of Record of Advocate Realty. Today I'd like to talk about parking and driveways. Now these are important because not only do you want to know where you're going to be able to park your car, but parking affects the value of your property because buyers will pay more depending on the type of parking that's available. In central Toronto there are pretty much three basic types of driveway situations. The first is the private driveway, the second is no driveway, and the third is a mutual driveway. The private driveway is pretty cut and dry. It means that you have your own driveway and you can park your car on it. The only thing to be careful of is to make sure that there are no older rights of way over the driveway, which might mean that it's not really a private driveway. And your lawyer can check that for you by looking at the survey and by checking title. The second type of driveway, which I guess isn't really a type of driveway, is no driveway. When you don't have a driveway, that means you're either having to find a spot somewhere else to park your car or you park on the street. If you're parking on the street, then you're going to have to check with the city if there's overnight parking permits available, because if there aren't, you're not legally allowed to leave your car on the street overnight and you run the risk of getting a ticket every single night. So check with the city if there's overnight parking permits available where you'd like to park your car, and there aren't permits available everywhere in the city. You also want to check if there are permits ready for you, because there may be a waiting list for permits. So if you're parking on the street, look into those things. Now, the third type of driveway is the mutual driveway, and that's the one that I'd like to really spend some time on because that's the one that's the most complicated and where people run into the most issues. Now, if you don't know what a mutual driveway is, it's where two houses share one driveway. So there will be a house here and a house here, and the driveway will run up the middle. This house owns this half the driveway, this house owns this half the driveway, but this house can use this half of the driveway and this house can use that half of the driveway. They each have rights of way over their neighbor's property to use the driveway, and so those are referred to as mutual rights of way, and that's why this is called a mutual driveway. Now in the old days, there were garages at the back of each of these properties, but since the driveways are only about 7 feet wide, that's a little bit narrow for cars today, and most people would prefer not to use those driveways so they don't have to risk dinging their side mirrors every time they go up and down the driveway, and they would much prefer to park on their front lawn. In the city of Toronto, you're not allowed to park on your front lawn without a permit. Now, I know that there are many people who do, but they run the risk of the city coming by one day and saying, you can't park there anymore. And that's why people will pay extra for houses that have legal front yard parking and not illegal front yard parking. And the way you can tell if a house has legal front yard parking is two ways. One is you can go to the city's website and see if the address of the home is there and listed as a house that has legal front yard parking. Or you or your lawyer can write a letter to the city asking them to confirm the existence of the legal front yard parking. Some people think that you just need to look for a parking plate permit, which looks like this, and that will tell you that the parking is legal. But that's wrong, because that parking plate permit could have been issued 20 years ago. 20 years ago, it could have been legal front yard parking, but if nobody has paid the fees every year, then the permit has lapsed. And so really the only thing to do is to check with the city to confirm that it has legal front yard parking. If you're buying, make sure that you put this in your agreement of purchase and sale. It's not enough that the listing may say there's legal front yard parking or the feature sheet may say it's legal front yard parking. If it's not in the agreement of purchase and sale, there's probably nothing you're going to be able to do about it. That's one of the funny things about real estate. If something isn't set out in the agreement of purchase and sale, you usually have no recourse. As a seller, if you're going to tell the public that you have legal front yard parking, make sure that you do. Because you don't want to tell the public you have legal front yard parking. They put it in the agreement of purchase and sale. It comes the day before closing and the buyer says, hey, I checked with the city, you don't have legal front yard parking. I paid you $1 million because I thought you had legal front yard parking, and so I want you to reduce the price by $50,000, or I want out of the agreement. And believe me, there are plenty of people who've run into that situation because they haven't taken the time to check on the status of the legal front yard parking before they put their home on the market, or as a buyer before they bought the home. So parking in driveways may sound like a boring subject, but it's really quite important. Now, if you or anyone you know is looking for an honest agent who really knows his stuff and who doesn't pressure his clients, please don't keep me a secret. Thanks for listening.